I recently wrote a blog, a post at normanmarks.wordpress.com talking about critical thinking. I referenced the earlier video that I did, but one of the comments that came back was asking me was the list of suggestions and recommendations I made in my blog, things that I actually practiced, or was I instead preaching things that I had not done before? And that made me reflect because pretty much everything that I had suggested I had done. But there was a reason why I had changed some of my procedures and processes and thinking about hiring people to make sure they had the ability to think, to understand whether they would fit in with my style of auditing, which is all about thinking, exercising your imagination and curiosity. And it dates back to when I was a vice president in IT at a financial services organization down in Southern California. And the board and top management had decided to outsource almost all of IT. And that meant that I would be losing my job. So I knew this was coming. It had been announced. And I had started interviewing for other positions. One of those positions was with the Tosco Corporation. Tosco was an oil company of some size, and they'd actually been a client of mine when I was at Cooper's and Lybrand on the IT audit side as a top manager, and they had been one of my clients. So I really liked the company and was very interested in joining them as the head of internal audit. Now, this was going to be a difficult interview with the chair of the audit committee. I knew it was going to be difficult because I had already cancelled the interview twice. Each time it was scheduled and everything was fine, and I was looking forward to driving over to Century City in LA. I was further south than that, to meet with J. Michael Tenenbaum, the chair of the audit committee. But I had to cancel each time because things came up with my current job that I could not step away from. In fact, I was working late into the evening both times to complete activities which were required, if I remember correctly, for the financial statement close. So I had apologized each time, and in the last conversation I had with the chair about rescheduling, he actually asked whether I was still serious about considering the job, given that I'd cancelled twice. So I said I certainly was. And I went to meet him. And all I knew about this guy, Mr. Tenenbaum, was that he was a very successful individual. He was a top managing director with Bear Stearns, an investment company. And through that position, he had invested an awful lot of his company's money into Tosco. So the internal audit position was very critical and important for him. I also knew that he was somewhat of a character, and he drove a pink Rolls-Royce Corniche. And this is one of those beautiful cars that you might see in a movie, and it has an open top. So I went up to meet with him and thanked him, obviously, for his patience in allowing me to interview him after cancelling twice. And then he got me off my stride, got me away from any thoughts that I might have had about what I was going to say by asking me, Norman, what do you read? What do I read? So I asked him a question or two to clarify what he was looking for, and he just wanted to know what I read. What kind of newspapers, magazines, books did I read? And this got me, like I said, away from any of the previous thinking that I had done about what I wanted to say about my qualifications, my experience, my ability to do the job and to be successful. It got me thinking about why he was asking this, what he was looking for me to say, and I answered. Now, I was lucky enough to get the job, a job which was what perhaps the most satisfying of my career. It spanned a period of over 10 years, and I grew with the company. And during that time, I had to interview and hire a lot of people, a lot of internal auditors, and sometimes other people like quality assurance people and so on. And I realized that I wanted to hire people who could think for themselves, who wouldn't just do what they've always done, what they've been told to do. And so I developed my own style of interviewing, one which I've been told by those who were subject to it that it was very unusual. It made them uncomfortable, which was fine, and made them think, which is even better. I called it scenario interviewing. What I would do is paint them a picture of a situation, some kind of potential risk area, some kind of situation which looked like it was going to be rather difficult to audit, and ask them how they would approach it. And some of them, the best ones, thought for a minute or two, asked me questions to clarify, and then demonstrated that they could think through the process, applying their previous experience and skills, their training, to think through what needed to be done and how. Now, it didn't really matter whether they came up with the, quote, right answer, the answer that I would come up with. What I was looking for was their ability to think through and come up with their own solution. And those are the people I hired. Contrast that with this one individual in particular, who, when I asked them, how would you audit it? They said, well, was it audited last year? I'd like to look at the file and see the audit program so I can repeat it. I said, well, it hasn't been audited before. Well, is there an audit program? I said, no, that's something you have to write. I want you to write the audit program. I said, oh, I can't write the audit program. You have to do that, and I will follow your instructions. That is not the person I wanted to hire. I wanted to hire people who could approach something they had never seen before, but use their intelligence, their imagination, their curiosity, their critical analytical thinking to figure out how to approach it. I would also ask how they would discuss with management what they found. And I was looking for people who would collaborate with management and work out agree upon the facts, discuss and agree upon how it might affect the business and what they're trying to achieve in the business, whether this was a risk that should be taken, and then collectively figure out what needed to be done. Because I don't want to make recommendations and have responses. This is what I had inherited. This is what I've been trained up with. And I found it immensely unsatisfying. I felt that I was not giving the audit committee and top management the best that internal audit could deliver, because they were forced to try and reconcile a recommendation by internal audit and a response, rather than understanding that we were working with management in a collaborative fashion and that what management was going to do was the right thing for the business. So I wanted people who could think, and I was willing to pay a little bit more and hire the experienced individuals who could deliver that kind of quality internal audit service to our customers. Unfortunately, I found over the years that hiring people who could think, hiring people that were not afraid to think, hiring people that were not afraid to challenge me and ask me questions and not just look to me for instruction. I could be a mentor, I could be a guide, I could be a trainer in some ways, but I always wanted to stretch their ability and help them grow, because that would be best for them, best for me, best for the audit department, and best for the company. So interview for analytical skills, interview to test whether people can think. And I wish you luck, because that is the approach, in my opinion, to world-class quality.